Hey BookTube, this is Friday Reads. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and today I will be talking about twice as many audiobooks as I normally do because last weekend was Thanksgiving weekend here in the US, and so that's a big holiday for us and I was gone. I hope that you had a great one. I was out of town and mine was terrible. Some years are just that way. There is just nothing you can do about it. And so, in spite of many food failures and a car accident where I got hit from behind and the person didn't stop, they ran off. Nobody was hurt, so it was fine, but, not the kind of thing that you want to have happen on your holiday weekend. So anyway, spent some good time with my girls and thoroughly enjoyed them. So got back home, was never so glad to be sleeping in my own bed again. So that's why I wasn't with you last Friday. Once again, I hope that your holiday was really good. And if you had some highlights, be sure and tell me about them in comments. Okay, here are the books. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly because I don't want to be here for half an hour and I don't want you sitting endlessly listening to me yammer on as I am wont to do. Starting off with The Foxe and the Hound. This is by R.S. Gray. It is narrated by Lucy Christian and Joe Arden. I really liked Joe Arden's narration. Lucy Christian, not so much. I don't know. It's probably more of a stylistic thing than anything, but I just didn't feel like she captured the character very well. This was the story of a character very much like an unsinkable Molly Brown. She was a complete optimist, and even in the worst of situations, she was saying, I will not let this get me down, I won't. So it wasn't overly graphic, and it's adult romance, and I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. The Year We Fell Down is by Sarina Bowen, and it is book 1 in the Ivy Years series. This is narrated from 2 points of view by Saskia Maarleveld and Nick Podehl. Once again, liked Nick Podehl a lot because he's one of my top all-time favorite narrators. And Saskia Maarleveld, I have had such trouble with her. Just didn't like her personification of the character that she narrated. I don't think she captured her because this is about 2 people, and the main character is a hockey player, and she has had an accident which has paralyzed her basically from the waist down. She can't use her legs. And she gets to college and she's across the hall from a guy who has broken his leg, and he is also a hockey player. So it's the story of their romance. And this is a girl that was not a girly girl at all. And Saskia Maarleveld didn't get that across, really. She didn't, I don't know, she just didn't capture the no nonsense, we're going to win kind of attitude that I expected for this girl to have. And I think that was the attitude that was revealed as the book went along. So, yeah, oh well. I ended up giving it 3 stars. Good story, not so great narration. We Own Tonight by Corinne Michaels is narrated by Zach and Andy. Quickly becoming my 2 favorite narrators when they're together. Zachary Weber and Andy Arndt. They're always good, always good. I always like what they do. Sometimes I think Andy Arndt could be a little more expressive, but then again, she hits that dialogue and it's always spot on. So yeah, this is about a woman who is 38 and a man who is 42, and she has been a fan of his, and he is the member of a boy band that was popular back in like the 1980s, 1990s. But these characters behaved as if they were very young. So I didn't really like that. It was okay. I don't know. Kind of meh, kind of romance. It's definitely adult romance, but yeah. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. The narration was the best part. I picked up Stay. This is by Sarina Bowen, and it is narrated from 2 points of view by Jacob Morgan and Lucy Rivers. This is book 2 in the WAGS series. This is a series that's all about a hockey team. So WAGS refers to wives and girlfriends. So obviously it's a new adult romance. Most of the characters are in their early to mid 20s. And so narration. Jacob Morgan is Zachary Weber. So yeah, of course I loved it. because he's so good. He's Zachary Weber. Enough said. Lucy Rivers was not so much. I didn't like her vocal lower range for the male voices that she used, and she often would phrase a question like a statement. So instead of asking a question, she'd be asking a question. Yeah, and I don't like that. That's a stylistic thing, and really her lower range is also a stylistic thing and personal preference on my part, so it's probably not fair to say that the narration wasn't good, but I didn't love it. But Zach Weber kind of made up for that. So this is a story about a hockey team. It had a great romance development. And really, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars, and I think probably I will continue on with the series. I started and finished the Slated series by Teri. These books are Slated, Fractured, and Shattered. And they are all narrated by Kathryn Drysdale. I thought Kathryn Drysdale was excellent. She's a British narrator because this is set in the UK. It's YA dystopian. And I don't like a lot of British narrators because of the way that they do things stylistically. And yet, I really liked Kathryn Drysdale. I think she did it all right. All those little picky things that drive me crazy about the way that English narrators tend to sound like BBC newscasters, she didn't sound like that at all. So that, to her credit, was excellent. So very high marks on the narration. I gave this series 4 stars overall. I gave the first book 3 stars. The second book, back when I read it a while ago, because the first 2 books were rereads for me, I had read them in print, and then it recently came out on audio, so I listened to them this time. The first time I read it, I gave it 5 stars, but I don't know. I don't know, maybe 4.5. So a 5-star rating, I kind of left it at that. The last book I gave 4 stars, and I think this series is so good. It's so underrated. It's just excellent in terms of a YA dystopian. It's all about criminals and subversives in the UK who are forced into a program where they are slated or given a clean slate. Their memories are completely erased. And so it's the story of what's really going on behind that. And is it a good thing or a bad thing? And yeah, and then we've got to overthrow the government and get rid of all the bad people and yeah, all that kind of thing. And then I picked up I'll Be Yours by Jenny B. Jones. This is narrated on audio by Laura Darrell. And I had my reservations about Laura Darrell because I just wasn't sure. I didn't know anything about her as a narrator. Well, she is fantastic. Fantastic. She made this book so much better. Not that it wasn't a good book, because it was an amazing book. So it had the perfect combination of social issues and emotional angst and sports, and it all has to do with the daughter of a coach in a small college town where football is a big deal, and everybody knows who she is. She's adopted. She was an abused child who got sent to foster care, and this family took her in. And so it's all about her drama with all of that background, falling in love with the right guy or the wrong guy. But, you know, so many of these books try to throw all that stuff in, and it's just one big mess of too many things trying to be addressed. But Jenny B. Jones did this so expertly. I was really impressed. I was kind of astounded that she did it as well as she did. So I gave that one 5 stars. Then lastly, I picked up Major Misconduct by Kelly Jamieson. This is Aces Hockey Book 1 and is narrated by Kasha Kensington. I liked the narration a lot. I really enjoyed it. I think that combined with the story, it added up to a pretty decent book. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. That was 2.5 rounded up. Honestly, it was just way too much sex, way too little story for me. I needed, you know, a better balance of the two and maybe a little less graphic on the one. I did end up skipping some parts just because I thought, oh, whatever, I've been through all this before. You know, it's like, you've heard one sex scene narrated, you've heard them all. So, you know, yeah, didn't add anything to the story. And it certainly didn't take anything away to just skip over it. So I did. I had 3 DNFs over the past couple of weeks. Those were Sex, Lies, and Online Dating. This is by Rachel Gibson and narrated by Kathleen Early. Meh, didn't grab me. Command Me is by Geneva Lee. Geneva Lee is also Jennifer Albin, and I know her name from having written some YA books that I really liked. But this is adult romance, and it's narrated by Fran Jewell. Once again, just didn't grab me. And then Good Boy, which is by Sarina Bowen and Elle Kennedy, and it is narrated by Teddy Hamilton and Tanya Ebby. It is book 1 in the WAGS series, which is Wives and Girlfriends. It's a hockey story, and just no. I don't know. It focused in on too many things that I just didn't care about. So those are my DNFs. Currently, I am listening to Rhapsodic. This is by Laura Thalassa, and it is narrated by Susannah Jones. And once again, I was hesitant about Susannah Jones because Laura Thalassa is a self-published author, and I wasn't sure, you know, a lot of times they just miss it completely trying to give someone new a chance, and it ends up being terrible. Susannah Jones is amazing. She's so good. I am so impressed. And in fact, I may tweet Laura Thalassa and just say, great job on the choice of a narrator for this series. This is the Bargainer series, and it is new adult fantasy. It's about fairies, basically. I'm not a big fan of fairies in fantasy. Say that 10 times real fast. But, you know, I kind of like it. It is not what I thought. It is a long, slow burn romance, and Laura Thalassa is really good at that. Last year I listened to, or I read in print, The Queen of All That Dies, which is her Fallen World series, and I think I'm going to go back and listen to that again now that it has come out on audio, just because I loved it so much. That was a 5-star series for me. And I'm also reading The Trouble with Paradise by Jill Shalvis. I'm actually reading this on my iPad. I grabbed a copy from my library because it's easier. You know, I found myself walking from room to room and being annoyed that I couldn't see the print when I could see it if I was looking at my iPad. So this is just Jill Shalvis. Optimistic girl goes on a luxury vacation that she wins and gets marooned on an island with a guy who's French and a doctor. So yeah. Typical Jill Shalvis. Adult romance. And then I'm also trying to get back to read The Divide by E.J. Mello. And that is new adult fantasy. Once again, about dreaming and another land and an alternate universe and yeah, all that. Kind of getting away from some of the romance that I've been reading just for a change of pace, to be honest. So anyway, that was my last couple of weeks. Let me know what you're reading, how your weekend is going, how your weekend was last weekend. It's beautiful here. It's freezing cold, but it's really beautiful outside. The sun is shining, and you just can't argue with that because, as I always say, it's been a good day if you had to wear sunglasses. So have a great weekend, and I will talk to you in the comments, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.